back to the billionaire-backed effort. It's been nearly 100 years since we passed, during the Franklin Roosevelt administration in the 1930s, that we passed laws to take children. A lot of this was, by the way, the result of Frances Perkins's work. Frances Perkins, if you've never read the biography of her, it is so worth the effort. Just plug her name into into Powell's.com or Amazon.com, and you'll find it. I don't recall the exact title of the article. I think it's called something like "The Woman Who Created the New Deal," but that might be the subtitle. But anyhow, it's the biography of Frances Perkins, and she was the woman that Franklin Roosevelt hired as the first female Secretary of Labor, and then she basically wrote most of the New Deal programs and pushed them through. She was just an amazing powerhouse. So anyhow, that was 100 years ago. And what has happened over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years is, well, actually 6 years now, is that, going on 7, is that Donald Trump so cut back on the ability of immigrants to come into the United States, unless they were from white European countries and had white skin themselves. He so cut back on the ability of immigrants to come into the United States that a lot of these, what you might consider kind of entry-level or low-paid, low-level jobs that are not sufficiently desirable that the average American, white, black, or Hispanic, anybody who's an actual American citizen, would want to do these jobs. Cleaning up the blood in a slaughterhouse, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just like, who wants to do that? And so, Sarah Huckabee Sanders' solution to that was to legalize child labor. And it's not just her, it turns out. Republicans, also children working in the fields where they're exposed to toxic pesticides that are massively more impactful on young people, on children, can create a lifetime legacy of severe neurological damage, which can result in cognitive impairment, emotional dysregulation, as well as, just good old-fashioned physical problems associated with the nervous system, like Parkinson's disease and things, and cancers. The Democrats tried to pass this piece of legislation after the documentary film The Harvest shined a light on how all these children are working in the fields in America. It was called the Children's Act for Responsible Employment, the CARE Act, but Republicans succeeded in blocking it in the Senate. So now red states are doing their own version of child trafficking. The Labor Department, this is a quote from Ann Smith at the University of Arkansas School of Law's Human Trafficking Clinic. She writes, the Labor Department has seen a 69% increase in minors employed in violation of federal law since 2018. Between 2018 and 2022, federal regulators opened 4,100 cases involving 15,000 youth workers, according to federal data. Conservatives say that banning child labor would harm low-income families by limiting their ability to work and earn money. But the simple reality is, if you've got a low-income family, the best way to, and that low income is causing them to skip health appointments or not feed themselves well, things that damage children. The solution isn't to send those children to work in a slaughterhouse, which is what the Republicans are saying. The solution is to get that family some money, get them a decent job, raise the minimum wage, give the breadwinner of the family a union job. I mean, that's the easy, and if you can't do that, I mean, if it's an area like southern Louisiana or eastern West Virginia, where poverty is just so deep and so entrenched that there literally aren't jobs, then you raise the level of support. You increase food stamps, you increase housing support, you increase the child tax credit. All of things Republicans actively oppose. In fact, Republicans in Iowa just passed a new child labor law that says that if a child is injured or killed on the job, the company doesn't have any responsibility for that. Now, if an adult is killed or injured on the job in Iowa, they can still sue the company. But if a child is injured on the job, Now Kim Reynolds is like, no, you know, that family can't sue. That child is dead. That's the end of it. Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, Ohio, and South Dakota are the other states seeking to legalize child labor. Minnesota, really? Child labor often perpetuates the cycle of poverty, as children who work are more likely to earn lower wages as adults and have limited upward mobility. Why? Because they're not, they're not paying attention at school because they're tired from working, or they're not going to school because they're working. Now, who's behind this effort to bring child labor back to the United States? Well, according to this article by Sarah Burris over at rawstory.com, quote, "It was all brought by a broad swath of ultra-conservative and Republican donors, such as the Ed Yulin Family Foundation and the 85 Fund, a nonprofit connected to political operative Leonard Leo. They're the same groups behind bans on the environmental, social, and governance expectations that corporations or investors look to when examining risks." It's a war against our children, being led by the Republicans. I don't know what else you could call it.